The golden age of comic books is considered by most superhero scholars to have occurred between 1938 and 1956. But to paraphrase fanzine writer Peter Graham, who once posited that the golden age of science fiction is 12, I'd argue that the golden age of comics is between 5 and 11. At least that was the case for me. 1997 to 2003. These are the years in which my infatuation with comic books, particularly Marvel Comics, was first forged, fueled, and ultimately fizzled out once I hit puberty and wanted a fighting chance at getting a girlfriend. The 90s Marvel cartoons, nauseatingly oversaturated comic books, trading cards, Toy Biz action figures, Hulk hands, and that early swathe of Marvel movies and tie-in video games. It's no coincidence that this is all the stuff I'm still passionate about 20 plus years later, and has become the main focus of Panels to Pixels. This entire YouTube channel is dedicated to recovering and maintaining that feeling of being a comic book obsessed kid in the late 90s and early 2000s. And while Marvel's cinematic success has irrevocably altered the general public's perception of who these characters are and what they should look like, there is one relic of millennial Marveldom that still exists today, perfectly preserved as a time capsule of Marvel Comics in a pre-MCU world. Hey heroes, I'm Josh from Panels to Pixels, and this is the story of Marvel's Superhero Island, the Marvel theme park that time forgot. Before we get into it, I just want to quickly tell you about this video's sponsor, and it's a game that really needs no introduction here on YouTube. That's right, it's Raid Shadow Legends time, baby! If you don't already know, Raid is a free-to-play turn-based RPG with over 600 champions to collect, but it also has an insane number of bosses too. And today we're going to take a closer look at the Guardian of the Void Keep, Malik Kavar. Now, this dude was once a priest of the light, but one night he had an epiphany while looking up at the stars. The way he saw it, there ain't no light without darkness, so he turned himself over to the dark side. Needless to say, the other priests weren't best pleased about that, and they kicked him out of the gang. Lucky for us, he went off to master the magic of the Void, so we have a nice supply of Void potions to ascend our champions with. Not so lucky for us though, he's not very happy about the whole being exiled thing, and he's not giving his potions up without a fight. To take down Malik, you're going to have to deal with all the poison he puts out. His poison debuffs can't be blocked or resisted, and if you're not careful, he can wipe out your entire team very quickly. Shield buffs and healing are the key here, and if you can cleanse debuffs on this guy, your champions will live to fight another day. There's so much new stuff coming to Raid this month, with a fresh rotation of the brutal Hydra boss, and a ton of events and tournaments every single day, including some special Valentine's Day events, where you can get your hands on a brand new legendary champion. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you'll get cool bonuses. We're talking a free epic champion, Tyrell, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in-game. All this treasure will be waiting for new players here in Raid if you sign up using my link in the next 30 days. Thanks to Raid for supporting this show, on with the video. As with so many of the landmark moments in Marvel's history over the last 20 to 30 years, this story begins with the comic book publisher in financial peril. In the wake of a massive boom and subsequent bust in the comic book market, and following a number of costly acquisitions, Marvel was in dire straits, and would ultimately file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on December 27, 1996. In a desperate bid to raise capital, Marvel Entertainment Group sold off their characters' film rights to several major film studios, a schism that has influenced the cultural landscape in ways that not even Doctor Strange and his 14,605 futures could have foreseen. Incidentally, one of those major film studios was Universal Pictures, whose parent company, MCA, was looking to expand its new theme park, Universal Studios Florida. Inspired by the success of Tim Burton's 1989 Batman film, Marvel's Superhero Island was originally conceived as DC Superhero Island, with negotiations between MCA and Warner Brothers beginning in the early 1990s. But when Warner acquired its own amusement park company in Six Flags, the deal fell through, leaving the door wide open for Marvel to make some much-needed moolah. So, on March 22, 1994, an agreement was signed that would allow MCA to construct a complex of attractions, stores, and food venues heavily themed around the Marvel properties. Situated only 15 miles away from its biggest competitor, Walt Disney World, Universal Orlando is one of the largest and most visited resorts in the world. Marvel's Superhero Island is just one of several themed islands that make up the Islands of Adventure, alongside areas based on Jurassic Park and the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Construction of the park began in 1997, with Marvel's Superhero Island officially opening to the public in spring 1999. And therein lies the beauty of it all, because Marvel in 1999 looked very different to how it looks in 2022. The headline acts were Spider-Man, the X-Men, and Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four. Trust me, nobody gave a flying flamingo about Iron Man or the Avengers. And if they say they did, they're either lying, or they were some kind of comics hipster who only read D-list characters. Marvel's Superhero Island debuted 9 years before the dawn of the MCU, and 10 years before the Walt Disney Company acquired Marvel in 2009. And while Disney really had no choice but to honour the continuing and indefinite usage of their newly owned property by one of their biggest competitors, it did mean that Universal can only make changes to Marvel's Superhero Island with Disney's approval, which they will never give, because why would they? And so the theme park has remained in stasis ever since, using 20-year-old Marvel branding and character designs. It's a fascinating game of corporate chicken. Universal can keep on profiting from Disney's biggest IP, milking Mickey's big old mouse teat for all it's worth, but Disney won't ever let them update, rework, or extend the park beyond basic refurbishment and modernization of rides and facilities. With every passing year, Marvel's Superhero Island becomes even more outdated, even more anachronistic, and even more incompatible with what modern audiences recognize as Marvel. And I guess Disney are just happy to let it slide into decline like that. Well, it sucks to be Disney because I f***ing love this shit, and so should you. Among Marvel's Superhero Island's 4 main attractions is the Incredible Hulk Coaster, which was voted America's best roller coaster in a 1999 Discovery Channel poll. After entering the science lab of Dr. Bruce Banner, guests are launched from 0 to 40 miles per hour within 2 seconds. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is a simulator-based dark ride which sees guests entering the Daily Bugle offices and being recruited by J. Jonah Jameson to go out and get pictures of Spider-Man as he takes on the Sinister Syndicate. Combining 3D video, ride movement, and special effects like smoke, water, and pyrotechnics, along with some amazing practical sets, this ride was way ahead of its time and has won multiple awards. Then there's also Doctor Doom's Fearfall, a space shot ride, and Storm Force Acceleratron, a teacup ride based on the X-Men Storm. Grab a bite at the Fantastic Four-themed Cafe 4, or an all-American burger and fries at Captain America's Diner. There are gift shops, clothes stores, a comic book shop, and even an Oakley store, because nothing says Marvel in the early 2000s more than Oakley sunglasses. But the design of the park itself is the real draw here, with its vibrant Art Deco facades and Easter eggs galore. Gargantuan cutouts of all your favourite heroes are scattered around the island, featuring artwork by Adam Kubert in what was the Marvel house style of 1999. At the corner of Yancey Street and Stanley Boulevard, you'll find the Fantastic Four's Fantasticar parked outside the Baxter Annex. Keep walking and you'll soon discover the Oscorp building, the office of Nelson and Murdoch, attorneys at law, as well as nods towards Stark Industries and Dr. Donald Blake, the once civilian alter ego of the mighty Thor. There are even some pretty deep cut references, such as Fogwell's Gym, Blaze and Ketch Mechanics, and Gladiator's costume shop. This is the Marvel Comics universe, fully realised and ready to be explored. In April 1999, Marvel produced a promotional comic titled Marvel Superhero Island Adventures, which featured original art by the likes of Mike Wieringo, Sal Buscema, and Chris Bachalo. These were big names in the biz, like proper heavy hitter artists. All of which is to say that Marvel were really pushing their new Universal Island attraction. And you know what? I actually read the comic, and it's pretty fun. You know, it's nothing special, but it's perfectly serviceable old school comic book stuff. But as Stan Lee writes in his introduction to the issue, what true believer wouldn't love the chance to personally experience the world of Marvel come to life? Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's a little drop of magic and heightened realism in an ocean of 21st century grounded superhero takes. From what I've seen online, I get the sense that actual amusement park enthusiasts, and maybe those only familiar with the modern face of Marvel movies, probably find Marvel Superhero Island to be a little quaint and old-fashioned. But for me, this is nostalgic nirvana. The 1994 agreement between Marvel Entertainment and Universal forbids Walt Disney World and the Tokyo Disney Resort from using the Avengers, Spider-Man, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, as well as any other character in the same family. Additionally, Disney is not allowed to use the Marvel name in all of the US and Japan, nor create a Marvel-themed simulator ride within the legal designated regional distances of any Universal theme park. This contract only applies to parks in the US east of the Mississippi River, meaning that the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim, California is not constrained by the agreement. However, the resort is still bound by the clause of not being able to use the actual Marvel name, which is frankly hilarious. Disney are understandably eager to have their most profitable franchise represented in their parks, alongside Star Wars and their animated characters. And just last year, they launched Avengers Campus at Disney California Adventure, noticeably devoid of any Marvel branding. It's actually really weird when you see it all without that little red logo. Now that I've pointed it out, you won't be able to not notice it. But you know what? No disrespect to the House of Mouse, but you can stick your Avengers Campus and web-swinging robot Spider-Man. I'll take Marvel Superhero Island any damn day of the week. Because in a world in which the MCU depictions of these characters are continuously dribbled into our consumer holes like insipid, colourless slop, even at times supplanting the iconic Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko designs in the comics themselves, ew, gross, it's weirdly refreshing to see the Marvel Universe in all its four-colour glory, still thrilling true believers young and old in 2022. Now, if you couldn't already guess, I live in the UK, and despite being properly obsessed with it, I've never actually had the opportunity to visit Universal Orlando or Marvel Superhero Island. The last 2 years have only made that prospect more unlikely, but hopefully one day I'll be able to get there and experience the Marvel Universe just as I remember it from my childhood. Garish, goofy, but above all, fun. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment to let me know, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to Panels to Pixels to see more stuff like this. Just as a quick aside, I recently made the official Panels to Pixels Discord server, which was previously for Patreon supporters only. I made it open to all. So if you want to drop in and hang out with like-minded people, it's a really lovely little group, and you're more than welcome to join us. You can find links to all of that stuff as well as my Patreon in the description of this video. Alright heroes, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.